What is up, YouTube? My name is Ryan, Reality by Design. Let's get into it today. Let's talk about manifesting from a place of wholeness. So you have two different perspectives. I know for myself and for most of the people I've worked with, talked to, coached, they're manifesting from a place of wound. It's always from a place of lack, desperation, neediness. And that's what creates the disharmony with who we're being and what we desire. So let's talk about it. I know a lot of coaches out there, they'll talk about being, who you are is what manifests, not what you want. And I am in full agreement. However, I come at it from a little bit of more scientific approach. We'll call it therapeutic mental discussion versus just being. So when I talk about the mind side, the biological side, scientific side, I'm in full agreement with being. But I think you'll relate to it more once you understand. So the problem is, a lot of the times, what I found for myself, especially manifesting SP back 6 times, I'm manifesting everything in my life, it was difficult to kind of get into that mode. And what I've found is there are certain, I don't want to call them techniques, but certain mental methods that work, that help you get into presence or just being much quicker without going back and forth. And so what are they? Number one, so I read a book a while back, and it was interesting because it talked about the mind in relation to certain, and how it categorized things were right in alignment with manifesting. And so what we call awareness and consciousness, it called the sage, and it called the ego, or different representations of the ego, saboteurs. And so the sage is your awareness. And it's like the mind is knowledge, the sage is wisdom. And the saboteurs, or the egoic mind, it had one specific to everyone, and then 9 kind of offshoots that most people fall into 1 or 2 categories of the secondary, but the primary being the judge. And so the judge is the main aspect of the ego. The ego is always wanting to control, condemn, condition, protect, defend, argue, justify, and on and on and on and on. And then it breaks down into these 9 separate secondary categories. And they were the stickler. And the stickler likes to be in control. The stickler has to be very structured, and anything outside of that is hindering and wrong. The second one was the pleaser. We please everybody, not from a place of wholeness and completeness, but out of a sense of, if I don't do this, then I won't be loved. I won't be liked. I won't be admired. I won't be accepted. So it's coming from an inauthentic place. Kind of like, it's the same reason why when you're on YouTube and you see those videos about stoic videos or nice guys finish last. The women love nice guys. The problem is the prototypical nice guy is not being nice because he's nice. He's being nice so out of a manipulative reason, not necessarily aware of why, but that is why nice guys finish last, because it isn't who they are. They're being nice because they feel they have nothing else to offer. They're being nice so the woman loves them. And so when we're people pleasing, or the pleaser, or doing things so they'll like us, we're compromising who we truly are. We compromise values, authenticity, we actually compromise helping others out by being authentic. And so we give in to things we normally wouldn't give into. And whether it's values or things we honor about ourselves, boundaries, things that we want to experience, we give it all up in order just to please someone so they'll like us. So it's very inauthentic. Then you have the hyperachiever, which a lot of successful entrepreneurs fall into this category. And so it can be used as a catalyst to manifest success or even abundance, but it's from an inauthentic place. And that's why you find a lot of people who make it and are successful are very unhappy. And it's because what happened is they're trying to prove, typically from childhood, they never felt good enough. They never felt seen. And so I'm going to prove to everyone I am A or B. I am successful. I am worthy of love. I am worthy of being appreciated. The problem with that is we block out other ideas. We constantly judge others, and if we let go of control, then it won't get done properly. And so it creates a lot of tension, especially in a relationship or a work environment. And the next one is the victim, always playing the victim role. This always happens to me. People do this because of this. I can't ever get what I want because of this. I'm a victim to my circumstances. This happened. It's a really big attachment to the old story. The next one is the hyper-rational. This has to be this way. It's a logic-based thinking, very based in the ego mind. If it isn't this way, then it's not right. If it isn't this way, then it's going to lead to this. There's a lot of stress and worry. The next one is the hyper-vigilant. Always constantly paying attention to what others are doing, paying attention to what you're doing. It can be very difficult in any kind of team environment or relationship. When you're hyper-vigilant, you're focused on what it is. Okay, this didn't happen. I know for me, previously in the relationship, it was always super hyper-vigilant of what was happening. Oh, she's not paying attention. She didn't kiss me this morning. She didn't do this. It's a mess. And the problem with that is we're constantly conditioning what is, and it's bringing us out of presence into the egoic mind and now creating the story we don't desire. And it's really difficult to get into imagination, to become awareness when we're constantly being hypervigilant. The next one is restless. If you find yourself being restless, it can be an adventure. It can be very adventurous. The problem is it's going to tell you that if you settle into something that is safe and secure, this is boring. But it's only because of the programming that was installed. It's always looking for something new. It's always looking for the next hit. And it's only built off the fix from the chemical endorphins that are released. But it's not based out of your true self. It's just the ego trying to get that next fix. The next one is the controller. God has to control everything. If you're not in control, then who is? And so everything goes to shit. The problem with that is it doesn't allow people to be who they authentically are. It doesn't even allow you to be who you authentically are. You can't experience things in the moment because you constantly have to be in control. It's like Christmas parties are great to host, but then you don't really get to enjoy them like the person hosting it because they're they have to make sure everyone's entertained, everyone's fed good, is everyone having a good time, and it's this constant controlling the whole situation instead of just being present and allowing things to be as they are. And the last one is the avoider. The avoider is constantly avoiding what needs to happen, avoiding the conversations that need to happen, avoiding what's being presented right in your face. Because if I face it, there's a story, there's programming there that when I deal with it, people run. If they see who I truly am, they'll run, scared of the outcome. And so when you look at all these 9 different aspects of the egoic mind, I loved it because there's a simple solution to this, and it's calling it out. And I know we were on TikTok live the other day talking about this, and it's really helpful and very successful, is calling something out for what it is creates space between who you authentically are and what you're feeling. When you create that space, it creates separation, and it creates the recognition that you are not the thing. You are not the feeling. You are not the thoughts. So if I was to look at all of the, all 10 of the saboteurs, when you look at them and how I said I relate to being hyper vigilant, and obviously all of us have the judge. But if I look at those, and let's say I'm being hyper vigilant, it creates separation when I say, okay, that I can either name the hypervigilant and give it a name. This is the whatever you want to call it. This is the dictator, or this is the give it a name, Michael, whatever it is. I'm now saying this is not me. This is the hyperachiever the hypervigilant, trying to be on top of everything and be aware of everything, and this isn't good, this is okay. That's not who I am. The moment I do that, I can now shift back to awareness, or what is called the sage, and become present in the moment. I don't have to identify with that. I don't have to go down the rabbit hole of trying to fix everything and corral or form everything into the box that I've created. It allows me to be as I am. And you'll find that when you become present, when you become aware, all of the egoic traps of the mind begin to quiet. And there's no longer anything to fix, because everything just is. And as Eckhart Tolle so beautifully said, once you become present, you recognize there is no problem. Either there is something that needs to be fixed, or something that needs to be addressed in the moment, or it doesn't, and then there is no problem. There is no problem from the past. There is no problem in the future. There is only now. Can I address this now? What needs to be done? Okay, do this. If I can't do anything now, then there is no problem. And so as we become awareness, we start to see all this. We start to see everything from the present moment. And the more we become present, we're allowed to get into flow. Once we get into flow, it's absolute bliss, because you are 10 times more effective, 10 times more efficient. The mind chatter has quieted, and execution is flawless, because you're just being as you are. What needs to be done is done. What doesn't. You go from task to task, and you're just being. And I can't tell you, flow may be difficult at first, but it's definitely possible and definitely doable. Because I know for me, flow used to be only certain activities. I liked really adrenaline rush activities. And I thought it was the activities. I've talked about it before, but whether it's skydiving or bungee jumping or going 200 miles an hour on the bike, whatever you're doing, in that moment I found the mind chatter quieted. There was no anxiety. There was no thinking about this, and this is bad, and this is a problem. It was 100% complete integration into whatever I was doing. And it was like, if you're on the motorcycle or you're jumping or you're doing this, you are one with that experience. And it wasn't until after that I recognized I was in flow. And so I associated those activities or those experiences with flow. But as I started meditating and doing breath work, and becoming present, I found that I was now accessing flow throughout my day, throughout life. And now I can go for a walk and I can quiet the mind and I'm in flow. And the walk is absolutely blissful. It's funny because before I had all these preferences and desires, and now I find that the simplest things, whether it's sitting on the back porch with a coffee or going for a walk in the morning with the dog, it's absolutely blissful. I wouldn't change it. It's perfect in that moment. And so you'll find that everything in your life is that way. The problem is we're imagining to the contrary. We're conditioning it. And you may be going for a walk, but there's all these, instead of being present right there in that moment, you're conditioning it and saying, oh, yeah, I know this walk is great, but I have this to do and I have that to do. And if only my SP was here with me, if only I had more money, I could enjoy this walk. If only I had this amazing, beautiful car to get into, then this walk would be much better. If I was at a house and walking around a neighborhood, it would be better, but it wouldn't. What you're not recognizing is all those things you described were permission slips. They're permission slips for you to be who you desire to be. And that is presence. That is the awareness. And the craziest thing happens. The moment you become awareness and you become presence and you become authentically you, the universe, God, the Father, whatever you want to call it, beautifully rearranges 3D to match your state of consciousness and be who you're being in that moment. So the things we so desperately needed before start to appear in our lives the moment we are them. You no longer need it, but it's a perfect representation of who you are, so it flows into your life effortlessly in perfect alignment. So if right now you're feeling like, money, I just wish I could have money. I never have enough. I'm sick and tired of struggling. I'm so sick. I know I'm worth more. I know I'm better than this. The problem is you are all those things, but you can't see it. You're unaware of it because you've taken the outside circumstances and you've put them in front of the mirror, and you're now telling yourself that's who you are. The reflection, you're looking at the 3D as who you are when it's merely a reflection. So stop trying to change the reflection. Recognize in that moment, that was just who I was identifying as. It's not who I am. I may have been occupying that state of consciousness, of lack, of never being good enough, of money being difficult to come by, but that's not who I am. By default, you are love, peace, bliss, happiness, fulfillment, joy, abundance. That is your birthright. So stop fighting the 3D. You can't. One of my favorite books, The Kabbalion. First principle is the universe is mental. The universe is mind. The mind is all. Everything is in our imagination. Everything we experience, everything we are, it is all imagined. And the next principle, the principle of correspondence. That what we experience on the outside is who we're being on the inside. As above, so below. As within, so without. You can't have a shit show on the inside and experience bliss and harmony on the outside. It's not possible. But it's the cause and effect. We keep trying to change the effect. It doesn't make any sense. It's insanity. And I understand now, when people always say to do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is insanity. I get it now why we do it. The reasoning behind it is not insanity until you step outside of it and see that the insanity of it. But we're doing it because we keep trying to change the outside and keep trying to change the outside and keep trying to change the outside, and it's the same pattern. You have to shift. We're running unconsciously. We're letting the subconscious programming run, and we go unconscious throughout our day, and we get frustrated with the results because they're never, ever changing. It changes the moment you become someone different, someone new. And that someone new is who you truly are, and that's awareness. The patterns will remain the same until that changes. If you want to experience something or go somewhere you've never been, you have to become someone you've never been. Stop trying to do the techniques as if they're magic. Stop trying to do the techniques without changing who you are. Because even if you occupy a state of consciousness where that it does materialize into your 3D, I can promise you it will be fleeting because the pattern will be the same. You can look at people who have won the lottery, right? And they talk about, I forget what it is, 80%, 88%, end up going broke within a certain number of months. I forget what it was, a year, 18 months, 2 years, whatever it was. It's because it's who they are. In their state of consciousness, money comes in, money goes out. Money is difficult. I don't ever have enough money. So I promise you that no matter what happens, they will burn through that money, and that money will leave them because they didn't change who they were. And it's the same thing. I manifested my SP 6 times. And the problem was I was very good at getting into that place where I was in the state of consciousness where I was with her and I believed it 100%. And she was my mirror soul, my soulmate, twin flame, whatever you want to call it. And so she would come back into my life and then I would lose her because of who I was being. I allowed, as soon as it's back, SP comes in, I'm looking at the 3D. I'm constantly conditioning it. This needs to change. That needs to change. This is a problem. Everything's a problem. It's not changing. How many times are we going to do this? Why can't you just get it? It was my state of consciousness. Why is it different this time? Because I recognize that I am awareness, that it is perfect as it is. And I always told myself, every time I'm looking at it, and she's this way, she's an avoidant, she's doing this, she's doing that. And then as I start looking back, it was always me. It was reflected beautifully. I was avoiding because I wasn't my true self. So I'm avoiding who I truly am. So of course an avoidant is being reflected back. I couldn't experience love authentically. And here I am thinking, I'm so loving and I'm so this. How can I truly love someone if I'm conditioning it? It's Ryan's version of SP. It's Ryan's version of love. But it's not love. I'm not experiencing SP as she truly is. I'm experiencing it as she has to be in order for me to feel love. And as I became awareness, I started recognizing the preferences start falling off. Sure, do I have preferences? Do I have desires? Yes. But I think they lessen to an extent. And when they don't, I put my attention on it. And then in my mind, it is that way now. And so whether it's money, whether it's starting a new business adventure, whether it's starting some side hustle I'm doing, whether it's family, anything. I first go in and imagine who I would be in that experience. And as I go in and imagine that, I recognize that that desire was really pointing me to who I desired to be. And I give it to myself. I recognize that it is this way now. It was always that way. The only reason I had that desire was to bring into my awareness who I was. It was a symbol, a representation of who I desired to be. And so now with that in my awareness, I recognize that that outside thing is no longer needed. But the beautiful thing is the moment I become that, and I would even correct that, not become that, the moment I recognize that I am that, that thing flows into my life effortlessly. And it's in perfect alignment with who I'm being. So when things happen and when they do come back, when you do start that business, don't go back to the 3D. The 3D has not, it's only a reflection. We do these things to get it, to it's so much easier when you're on your own, when you're meditating and you're sitting in the silence and you recognize that your awareness. But then when we get it and we start to venture out, we lose track of who we truly are. And then we start looking at the 3D. Oh, this again. This is happening. We go right back to the old story without recognizing it. We shift states. And the beautiful thing about a state of consciousness is you can only be aware of something in a particular state of consciousness, what we hold in our consciousness. And so there are things that are unavailable that we are unaware of that are, but we can't see them because we're not in that state of consciousness. And so whenever we get into the ego, we see all these problems. What we don't recognize, that is the problem. It is that very identification and noticing the problem that creates the problem. It's like we feel in our mind we are a prisoner and that we're in a prison in our mind and we can't break out. And if only we could just get out of the prison. And as our awareness expands, we recognize that the warden is ourselves. That we're holding ourselves captive to an illusion that doesn't exist. And as we expand our awareness even further, we recognize there is no prison. There is no prison to break out of. There is no you to escape from. There is no you to fix. There is no problem to solve. There is only you to become awareness and recognize that everything is perfect as it is now. That there's nothing to add on to you. There's no love for you to get outside of yourself. There's no abundance. All of these things are symbols of the recognition of who you are. So this week, I will tell you, practice presence, practice becoming aware, and call the things out. When the egoic mind, when those saboteurs start telling you, noticing all the things wrong, call them out. You don't need to oppose them and say the opposite. Call them out. They don't exist. They're illusions. Oh, this is out of control. No, it's not. Call it out. That's just the controller. The controller needs to be in control. It's the safety mechanism. It's a survival mechanism. The thing is that you're going to recognize that happens. All of these things that the saboteurs that I went over earlier, these all exist in the fight or flight mode. It's survival mode. As you can shift from survival mode to thriving mode, you'll recognize that that's where imagination exists. That's where presence exists. And for any of you who are having difficulty getting over here into the thriving, into imagination, into creation, you first need to regulate the nervous system. And I know there's coaches out there who say, you don't need to regulate the nervous system. In theory, no. And you will get to a place where you don't. But maybe you're at a place where you do. where you're in that fight or flight mode. It is going to be difficult if you are in fight or flight. If you're in survival mode, thriving in imagination might seem impossible, might seem so far away. So all you need to do is become the awareness. Quiet the mind. What I found helpful, meditation. Maybe it's difficult. You think it's woo-woo. You think it's not for me. I promise you it will change your life. If you meditate, give it 20 minutes the first time, 30 minutes. I know Brian Tracy talked about it. If you ever have a question and you need an answer, go into the silence for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, and I promise the answer will come to you. But it doesn't come to you with the mind. It's outside of the mind. Conceptually, your mind can't figure it out because it doesn't involve the mind. So you have to quiet it. You have to be able to silence the thoughts and become present. So I definitely urge you this week, meditation. Second, breath work. Breath work will change your life. If you want an instant nervous system regulator, it's breath work. There are several breath work techniques. You have the Wim Hof, you have Tumo, you have Joe Dispenza's. Just look at it, search it on YouTube. You'll find numerous breath work methods. My favorite was one of the Tumo methods, which is you breathe in. So you take 30 powerful breaths. So when you're breathing in, and you do that 30 times. On your last exhale, you breathe every ounce of air you have out of your lungs. Do this for, and then you don't take a breath for 1 minute. After the minute elapses, you take a deep breath, hold for 10 seconds, and repeat the 30 powerful breaths. On your last exhale, you don't take another breath for 90 seconds. After the 90 seconds is up, take a deep breath, hold for 10 seconds, repeat it, the powerful breaths again, and this time on your exhale, you don't breathe for 2 minutes. As you do this, it brings you extremely present. You will get super tingly and lightheaded. There's not a problem. Just observe it. There's nothing to worry about. Allow your body to do what it does. And you'll find when this is done, I'll sit there for maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just sit in the silence and be completely present. Any thoughts that come up, I just allow them to come up. And that I usually try to do that in the morning, maybe late morning. And that really gives me a kickstart to being present throughout my day. And so then I will be aware. The thoughts that come in throughout my day, I constantly, maybe I go unconscious. I recognize it because I'm trying to always constantly be aware and say, okay, and I'll bring myself back present. And you can do this through the methods I mentioned and also grounding, whether you're recognizing the weight of yourself sitting in the chair, recognizing the sensations in your body. I'll rub my fingers together and feel the heat created and the pressure on my fingertips. But anything like that brings you back to presence. When you're meditating, the reason they always have you'll notice that some sort of incantation or mantra. And so when they're meditating, they'll say, You'll notice that when you're doing that, it's very difficult to think. And so there are no thoughts. But the whole point is to get outside of the mind and bring you back to awareness and presence. And I can promise you, if you do those modalities that I mentioned this week, you'll find that the techniques aren't necessary. That trying to change the outside isn't necessary. And as you shift your state of consciousness, you're going to start noticing synchronicities left and right. That things are beginning to align. But you no longer need them. They're just aligning because that's who you are. That's who you're being. And I promise you that if you do this for 1 week, you'll come back and comment and say, I can't believe it. Oh my God, I feel completely different. And the things that you no longer needed, the things that you no longer need now start flowing in. All of your preferences, your desires, they were just pointing you to this moment where you recognize who you are and remember that you are who you desire to be. Thank you, guys. Check out my next vid. If you haven't already, like and subscribe and hit the bell on the way out. Later, guys.